The November 12th, 2013 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Adair.
Here.
Mr. Ansello. Here. Miss Andrews. Here. Mr. Antelli. Here. Mr. Barker. Here. Mr. Baroth. Here. Miss Boyce. Here. Dr. Carbone. Here. Mr. Colby. Mr. Daniele. Here. Mrs. Draw. Here. Mr. Gamble. Here. Mr. Gamina. Here. Mr. Haney. Here. Mr. Hanna. Here. Mr. Holland. Here. Miss Kaylee. Here. Mr. John Lightfoot. Here. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Mr. McCann. Here. Mr. Michike. Here. Mr. Morelli. Here. Mr. Patterson. Here. Dr. Quattro is excused. Mr. Rocco. Mr. Tucciarello, here. Mrs. Valerio, here. Mr. Wilcox, here. Mr. Yolovich. Here.
Please stay seated. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Father Joseph Hart of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Rochester, who's been invited here tonight by Legislator Joe Carbone. Father?
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, from the abundance of your mercy, enrich these your servants, the members of the Monroe County Legislature. Safeguard them this night. Give them the wisdom to know your will. Give them the courage to act with conviction. Give them the love to act compassionately. Help them always to respond to the needs of all the people in Monroe County, but most especially the poor and the vulnerable. May they be a voice for the voiceless in our society and bring about dignity and justice for all. Strengthened by your blessing, may they always be thankful to you and bless you with unending joy. Eternal God, we call upon you now. We know that you always hear us, for you alone are God, now, always, and forever. Amen.
Colby will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Colby. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You've all received the copies of the Journal of Day 12, October 8th, 2013. Without exception, the journal stands approved as submitted. Tonight there's a hearing loop in place to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, we would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting, and we thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are all in your folders at this time. Now I would like to introduce County Executive Maggie Brooks, who will address the legislature tonight on the Monroe County annual budget for the year 2014.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Thank you for being here. Let me start by talking about taking office in 2004. And every year since then, I have submitted to the legislature an executive budget that defines our priorities as a government for the coming year. Tonight, I am submitting my 10th budget as county executive. It has truly been my honor and my privilege to help chart our community's course now for an entire decade. Submitting a budget to the legislature is one of the most important things that I do as a county executive. and our annual budget development process is one of the most important activities of this county government. Through times of opportunity and times of challenge, the budget serves as a rock-solid roadmap detailing our path to continued prosperity. More than anything, it is a unifying document, something that coalesces the diverse needs of local taxpayers, families, employers, and all stakeholders into a single document defining the kind of community that we want to live in. With that in mind, my 10th budget starts with the same commitment as my first, protecting the local taxpayer. For the 10th year in a row, the 2014 budget keeps the property tax rate flat. The rate will not go up. In fact, the 2014 budget preserves our historic 2008 tax cut and holds the rate at $8.99 per thousand of assessed valuation. That means the rate will be lower on January 1st, 2014 than when I took office on January 1st, 2004. The 2014 budget is balanced and in full compliance with both Monroe County's Taxpayer Protection Act, which controls spending, and the New York State property tax cap, which controls levy growth. Grant budget spending totals about $175.8 million, and operating budget spending totals just over $1 billion. That's significant because it means that we have cut our operational spending by $3.8 million. We have cut spending by $3.8 million. That's certainly good news for local taxpayers, but a reduction like that does not happen by accident. It's the direct result of making difficult choices, the effective management of limited resources, and the aggressive pursuit of internal efficiencies. Long before we ended with a budget that holds the property tax rate flat and cuts spending, we began this process with the need to close more than a $45 million mandate-driven structural deficit for 2014. As always, we utilized an array of non-tax-bearing revenue enhancements and internal cost avoidance to shield taxpayers from feeling the full weight of the mandate gap. Using a balanced approach, we were able to deliver $29.1 million in savings and $16.7 million in GAAP revenue in the 2014 budget. I want to say thank you to each and every department head that has joined us here tonight, and I see a lot of them in the audience. Our department heads truly stepped up this year to help us balance this budget for 2014. Our management team stepped up and agreed to lead by example. Next year, management and professional employees will not be receiving any step increases or cost of living adjustments. That's going to save the county about $1 million, a tremendous commitment on their part. We will continue to reduce the head count in Monroe County for 2014 by nearly 121 full-time equivalent positions for a savings of $6 million. Layoffs, which are always a last resort, will account for only 12% of that reduction in headcount. To cut administrative overhead and avoid Obamacare tax hikes, Monroe County is going to become self-insured for medical benefits. That will save $3.6 million without changing any employee coverage. Employee coverage and benefits will stay exactly the same. Increased federal reimbursements to our Medicaid costs, updated program cost estimates, and refinancing of existing debt will save a combined $13 million for the county. A variety of internal efficiencies round out the savings, accounting for approximately $5.7 million. On the non-tax-bearing revenue side of the equation, the continued responsible sale of tax liens will bring in $10.2 million to the county. New Medicaid cost recovery efforts will deliver $4.5 million, and updated revenue forecasts will produce $2 million. I do want to again take this opportunity to thank all of our department heads, our division heads, our management team, who fully embraced, even during these tough times, fully embraced a top-down approach to doing more with less once again this year. I know they had to make some tough calls, and I thank them for their continued professionalism and their hard work on behalf of this community. I also want to recognize my partners in government at the county level for answering the call. Every county level elected office has reduced the number of positions in its operation for 2014, helping to shoulder the burden internally so that we can keep it off the backs of our residents. My thanks to County Clerk Cheryl Donofo, Sheriff Patrick O'Flynn, District Attorney Sandra Dorley, and County Legislature President Jeff Adair for their continued partnership. For the second year in a row, the county again is going to reduce the ongoing structural deficit caused by mandated expenses. Again, for the second year in a row, unprecedented. The 2014 budget reduces that structural gap by 36%, or roughly $35 million. That large reduction has never happened before in the history of this county. Here's another way to look at it. We are cutting our long-term structural year-to-year deficit by more than 1/3. There's not one other county in the state that could say the same thing. It's an amazing accomplishment at a time when other counties are dealing with exploding debt and insurmountable deficits. We are forging a smaller, smarter, and more sustainable government to best serve our community for years to come. State and federal mandated spending is as big a challenge today as it was when I submitted my first budget 10 years ago. 83% of the 2014 budget is mandated expense. Mandates are 83% of our budget, 100% of our problem. So what is a mandate? Mandates are state and federal programs that county governments are required to deliver. Sometimes we are reimbursed for the cost of those programs. Sometimes we only receive partial reimbursement. But just as often, local taxpayers have to pay the full cost of those programs. There are 9 state programs that consume 83 cents of every dollar that you pay in county property taxes. Medicaid is the largest mandate. Every year, the cost of mandates grows. The additional expense is forcing counties to cut back on or eliminate vital local programs like park services, senior and youth programs, veterans services, preventive programs for our children and families, road and bridge repairs. Some counties are closing their community hospitals. Many counties are raising property taxes by double digits and raising sales tax. I recognize Governor Cuomo's efforts to implement some important reforms. As a matter of fact, I have stood with him and supported him in those efforts. I appreciate the state's hard cap on local Medicaid growth that will take effect in 2015. But there is no doubt that more work remains to be done. In the meantime, Monroe County will continue to do what we've always done, make tough choices to best serve local taxpayers. Fiscal responsibility means using a taxpayer-first approach to balance the budget, but it also means protecting our community's quality of life. The 2014 budget accommodates the growing burden of state programs without cutting any of the vital local services that are important to individuals and families and businesses. That doesn't mean that we can do everything that we would like to do. But we will continue to provide a high level of service that goes above and beyond the basics that we as a county government need to provide. Nowhere is that more evident than in our continued support of Monroe County's subsidized daycare program. That program helps parents find affordable care for their children so that they can move from public assistance to employment. Even during the toughest of financial times, we have maintained our full commitment to that program. Our minimum annual funding requirement is nearly 4 times greater than any other county in this state, despite the fact that the cost of daycare per child has increased more than 50% since I took office. Monroe County is required by the state to provide $4.2 million to the daycare program. In 2014, our budget will be $4.8 million. we will ensure that no child who is eligible will be removed from that program. Community advocates have been writing form letters by the thousands, asking the county to increase our daycare allocation by $1 million. Unfortunately, a commitment of that size would come at the expense of other important services, and above and beyond that, would compromise our compliance with the Taxpayer Protection Act. I fully expect child care to become a political football in this community this year by those choosing to make this a partisan budget battle. But we've come up with an innovative plan to work with all of those people who have provided us their names and addresses in their letters. And we have come up with an innovative plan to work with those community members to raise money that will be dedicated 100% to the daycare program. We'll be talking more about this collaboration later this week, but we will be asking advocates throughout this community to join us. If this is about the kids, join us. In closing, this is a budget that does not raise taxes, it cuts spending, it reduces the size of our structural deficit, it reduces the size of county government, and it does not compromise quality of life local services. This is a good budget that caps a full decade of property tax stability while ensuring the fiscal and economic strength of our community for decades to come. I certainly look forward to working with the legislature on its passage. I do want to close by just saying one thing. I don't know where he is, but I want to thank Bob Franklin, our finance director, and his entire team for their hard work on this budget. This is Bob's first budget, and he knocked it out of the park, and I'm very, very grateful to the hard work and dedication of that team. It's not easy balancing this budget year to year and maintaining the services that we provide in this community. So I want to thank him and give him a round of applause. I also, too, want to just call everyone's attention to a document that's been in circulation for quite a while now, and it's called A Roadmap to Mandate Relief. And this is put together by the New York State Association of Counties. And I will tell you, I've been in county government in some form since 1996. I don't ever think I have seen a better explanation, a simpler explanation of what a mandate is, what are the mandated programs in this state that are truly impacting our ability to balance our budgets at the local level. It's a simplified version of how mandates impact what you have to give your county government each and every year. So I will put out a challenge to both sides of the aisle, because I know people in the Democratic caucus and the Republican caucus have very close relationships to some of our state legislators in Albany. And I would encourage you on a daily basis to take this document and circulate it and talk to our legislators about how they can help us really provide meaningful mandate reform to taxpayers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the blueprint for tax relief in Monroe County and across New York State. Thank you very much. The most important part.
Okay, for the purpose of distribution of the MOU for the budget, I will now recess the meeting at this time. At this time, I will bring in the November 12th, 2013 legislative session back into order. Will the legislators please take their seats? This evening, we have several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would representatives from the Traveling Cabaret please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Dr. Joe Carbone, Steve Tucciarello, Anthony Daniele, Michael G. Barker, and Joseph Morelli, Jr. Whereas the Traveling Cabaret is a not-for-profit group that performs shows in the greater Rochester area for public and private events. This troupe uses their proceeds for student scholarships and various charities in the community. And whereas, over the last 23 years, the Traveling Cabaret performed over 425 shows for the community. These volunteers perform various shows that include song, dance, and comedy. The Traveling Cabaret has been awarded 27 grants recognizing the troupe's contribution to the quality of life in the community because of its year-round dedication. And whereas the members of the Traveling Cabaret range in ages from 46 to 86, and they all work towards showing delight to all ages of community residents. David Rowland, Bill Gilbert, Linda Koshera, Mark Battaglia, Bob Dietrich, Roseanne Krause, Dick Lawrence, Linda and Michael Maloney, Steve Tylock, and Phyllis and Steve Kravitz all contribute to the Traveling Cabaret, giving up countless hours for practices and shows. Now therefore we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator District 16, Steve Tucciarello, Majority Leader, Anthony Daniele, Legislator District 10, Michael G. Barker, Legislator District 11, E. Daniel Quattro, Legislator District 15, and Joe Morelli, Jr., Legislator District 17, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Traveling Cabaret on their contributions to the quality of life in the community. Congratulations.
Hi, everybody. My name is Phyllis Kravitz. With me here today, I'm the treasurer of the Traveling Cabaret. I'd like to introduce Linda Maloney, who's the president of our board, Roseanne Krause, board of directors, and my twin, Sandy Kravitz, not Steve Kravitz, who is here. Unless that's her stage name and she's hiding it from me, I don't know. Anyway, we're thrilled to get this honor. We really appreciate it. Has anyone seen the Traveling Cabaret that's here? We're 23 years old. You have to see us somewhere. We do perform for private and public events, and we do good deeds. We give scholarships to high school seniors pursuing the arts and to charities. They're all Broadway movie and pop musical reviews. Come see our Christmas show. We're going to be in the Town of Gates December the 7th at 2 o'clock at the Senior Center. December 2nd, December 7th, we're going to be in Irondequoit at the Legacy at Cranberry Landing. That's at 2 o'clock. So come cheer us on. Thank you again to everybody for this wonderful honor. We really appreciate it.
Would Ronald Schroeder, Kelly Emmerich, and representatives from the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Richard Yolovich and Joshua Baroth. Whereas Ronald L. Schroeder began working as a biologist forester aide for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation in 1965. 1 year later, he left that post to take a position with the department's Scottsville office as a conservation biologist. Through that position, he worked closely with the Fish and Wildlife Management Action Board, where he served as secretary for 35 years. And whereas Ronald has made it a priority to keep the public informed and educated about the DEC's efforts with fish and wildlife. He represented the DEC at fairs, sportsmen's events, and other gatherings across the Western Finger Lakes region. One of Ronald's greatest achievements is the establishment of a National Hunting and Fishing Day celebration in Avon, New York. Over the last 29 years that Ronald has organized this celebration, he has been able to attract between 10 and 20,000 attendees each year. And whereas Ronald's hard work and dedication to the environmental conservation in our region is truly remarkable. He continues to spend his time educating youth and adults about the importance of wildlife issues at events such as annual conservation field days. His service to the Soil and Water Conservation District is second to none, and we are truly thankful for his service. Now, therefore, we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Dick Yolovich, Legislator District 1, and Joshua Baroth, Legislator District 24, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Ronald L. Schroeder on being named the 2012 Conservationist of the Year. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Emmerich, Executive Director for Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District. I just wanted to present a plaque to Ron Schroeder for his remarkable support for the district over the years. As you know, he's now retired from the proclamation, but he has continued to provide support to the district for over 25 years for our annual Conservation Field Days event. And that's an educational event outdoors for 6th grade students on wildlife management issues, needs, including conservation, habitat, and identification. He's also provided 21 years of dedicated assistance to the district's annual Envirothon competition as an instructor, exam author, and competition proctor, educating high school students throughout Monroe County in the area of managing wildlife in New York State. He's very content with continuing his hobbies in his retirement. He continues to enjoy hunting, trapping, and serving as a secretary for the last 8 years on the American Wildlife Conservation Foundation. He resides in the town of Henrietta with his wife Julie of 48 years and has 5 children and 8 grandchildren. It's my honor to present the 2012 Conservationist of the Year Award to Ronald Schroeder.
As was just brought out, I didn't push zero population growth, so over the years I had a few words that sort of guided me. When I was back in college, it was preserve wildlife, parentheses, throw a party. Then as I was in my professional years, it was a case of following environmental conservation, the wise use of the world around us. And then now, in my retirement, I've hit the stage of energy conservation, in parentheses, take a nap. So for these, I thank the legislature and the Soil and Water Conservation District for the recognition and the honor. And thank you very much.
Would Richard Boyan please come forward? Also President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Joseph Morelli Jr. and Dr. Joe Carbone. Hello. Whereas since 1963, Chief Richard Boyan has served as a law enforcement official in the town of Irondequoit, where he has built a rewarding career, reflecting his deep appreciation and love for his community. And whereas, during his service, Richard lived by the motto, to serve and protect, and continually strived to preserve the moral character of the Irondequoit community and to enhance its quality of life. His reputation for professionalism, dedication, cooperation, care, and love for the community was second to none. And whereas Richard served as chief of the department for 13 years, applying his knowledge, experience, and leadership skills to the department. Richard represented himself as a leader, demonstrating respect and admiration for his fellow coworkers and community members alike. Richard has and always will be a pillar of the Irondequoit community, just as he has been for over 50 years. Therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Joseph Morelli, Jr., Legislator District 17, and Dr. Joseph Carbone, Legislator District 16, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor Richard Boyan upon his retirement after over 50 years of tireless service. Congratulations.
It's even hard to say 50 years. Wow. I just want to thank the legislature for this recognition. I also want to thank the legislature for all the support you have given my police department and all of law enforcement in Monroe County. Believe me, we really, really appreciate it. I don't know what we would do without the support we've had from this county legislature. The only other thing I have to say is that for 50 years, when you get up, you put a uniform on, no problem, you don't forget what you got. I started at 7 o'clock this morning to get this to match, so those are the changes that have the big changes in my life anyway, so thank you all so much.
There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mrs. Rossi.
I will call 3 names at a time, and please come forward and address the legislature when your name is called. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to provide the body with your remarks, and we kindly ask that you conclude when the timer sounds. And also, we thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Edward Gartz, to be followed by Anna Cates and Sister Grace Miller. Please come forward in that order.
Anytime? Go for it. Okay. As you all know, I've been here many times up at the speaker's podium, and the last time I was in here, I looked up at Jeff and said, Jeff, I'm going to ask you for a favor and the legislature for a favor, and I'd like to get an answer, which I received an answer, and it was a very positive one, and that you have reacted to the issues that I have found in regards to the management of the county golf courses. I came here to say thank you. I appreciate that. You listened. And if you ever need somebody to stand up in front of your campaign and say, yes, I really did listen, I want to be here to say thanks. And from this corner here all the way up to that corner back there, you've done a wonderful job in regards to this. I am confident that you're going to find that when the state comptroller's audit is done, that there will be some major problems. So I came here to ask for something else, not asking for an answer this time, Jeff. And I brought my I actually wore my lucky jacket to ask for this one last thing. And that is, I want you to know that part of the problem that you had in regards to this that caused the destruction of the golf courses is the fact that there are holes in the contract that are so big you could drive a Mack truck through them. I've worked 3 years looking over that contract, finding out what's going on, trying to understand it, learning about those holes, and finding the spots that have to be shored up. So I'm going to ask you this last thing. Please ask me when you're ready to do it again, because I believe it'll be fairly quick, to help develop the new contract. I want to do it on behalf of the county and as a thank you to all the work that you've done for me. Thank you again. God bless you.
Speaking of contracts, my name is Anna Jo Cates. I represent the Monroe County Federation of Social Workers. I started with the county just about 10 years ago, and it's a pretty sobering experience. My coworkers and I do some gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, difficult work that many people readily admit they would not be able to do. Some of us have to do this under a rather repressive managerial system. When we come to work, we do so with a definitive resolve to represent the county in a manner befitting public employees. We're not submitting invoices for work not performed and asking for $2 million. We're just asking you to pass a fair contract. Thank you.
Would have been great if Maggie Brooks had mentioned giving more money for burials for the poor tonight, but it didn't happen. I'm bringing a welfare case to you tonight, and this isn't indicative of all workers, but this is what happened with one case that I was working with. I'm working with a man who cannot take care of himself. He's totally unable to cut through the system, the maze of the system, the heavy bureaucracy of the system. He has many mental problems. Against all odds, I brought him to Social Security, hoping against hope that there he would receive help. The representative at Social Security was very compassionate and is trying very hard to get some help for him, and that is against all odds. In the meantime, the man has no money, no Medicaid, and is living in a room of a friend paying no rent. I tried to get help for him temporarily from the Department of Social Services. We filled out an application, and I mailed it to DHS. On Thursday, October 31st, I received a response from DHS dated October 30th. An appointment was scheduled for Monday, November 4th at 10 o'clock. A weekend fell between. I was taking the man to the appointment, but I could not make the appointment because of my heavy schedule. The man could not have handled this appointment by himself. So Monday morning, early Monday morning, I called DHS in an attempt to reschedule the appointment. I called the number on the letter, a general letter sent to all people who wish to reschedule. The phone rang and rang and rang, no one answered. I then called Kelly Reed's office to speak to her secretary, soliciting help with this case. She asked me to wait while she checked the number on the sheet. She returned to the phone telling me the number on the sheet was not the right number. In fact, no one answers that number. Now, mind you, this is the number people are calling when they have to reschedule. It's an erroneous number. No one answers that phone. So tell me how people are being helped. I called the number given me. A worker responded. I had a feeling she was waiting for my call. When I told her I needed to reschedule the appointment, she told me the person I was calling for needed to call. I told her he could never do it, and that's why I was making the phone call for him. Her response, in not so kind a tone, was, "That's unfortunate." A caring response, isn't it? I hung up on her. Is this the kind of treatment that you are allowing our people to suffer under your welfare system? Isn't it any wonder there are so many homeless people? No, this isn't funny. This is serious. And I don't appreciate your laughing. That's the problem. That is the problem. You think this is a joke, and it's not a joke.
Please summarize.
Well, he has no right laughing. That is the problem. You think it's funny. When poor people who need help can't get it, it's a big joke, isn't it? Is that the kind of a system we run here, kind of a government we run here?
Our next three speakers are Judy Gradford, to be followed by Evelyn Evans and Carla Cates. Please come forward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judy Gradford, and I'm a caseworker with the Monroe County Department of Human Services. I wish to comment on the department's request for $50,000 to fund an overtime project for CPS investigations. While there certainly is a need to assist DHS in meeting its charge to protect children in our community and to complete investigations in a timely manner, the real need is to hire sufficient staff and to look into why there are chronic vacancies in investigations. For the past few years, Child Protective Investigations has been mandating overtime, causing severe hardships for workers with young families, workers with health issues, and workers with other family obligations. Mandated overtime based on caseload size is in violation of our contract, which requires that overtime be assigned to volunteers before it is mandated. I have spoken with promising young caseworkers who have left CPS to return to certification because they cannot meet the requirement for mandated overtime and fulfill their obligation as parents. The county spends thousands of dollars training new workers only to have them leave after a few months. On the CPS management side of the house, we have seen our caseloads begin to rise, for some of us by as much as 30%, and they are continuing to rise. While we welcome the changes in practice that have made our work with families deeper and more meaningful, it is impossible to do intensive quality work with families when caseloads rise. I remember the bad old days when we had between 25 and 30 families to supervise and assist with reunification and permanency. We hardly knew the names of the children, let alone understood their needs sufficiently to direct appropriate services. The quality of our work depends on the quality of the relationships we build with the families that we serve, and relationships take time. Because CPS investigations is so overwhelmed, CPS management is going to have to perform subsequent investigations that occur on our active caseloads. This will only add more stress to our already overburdened staff and further hinder our ability to form positive relationships with our family. In addition, we have been without a contract since December 31st, 2008, and we have not had a cost of living increase since January of 2008. Our administrators have seen their salaries rise over 10% in that same period. The county has not negotiated in good faith. They have hired out that responsibility to a law firm that is dedicated to destroying our contract instead of negotiating a fair deal. We must turn to you, the elected legislative body for Monroe County, to do what is right for the most vulnerable constituents, of which are children. We need a fair contract to do our work properly. We need sufficient staff to carry out our responsibility effectively, and we need to address the root causes that are creating the chronic shortages of CPS investigations. Anything less is merely rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Evelyn Evans. I'm a 28-year employee of Monroe County, and I'm the president of the Federation of Social Workers, known as FSW. I'm here today representing several thousand citizens. They are FSW members, retirees, and their families. Over the past few years, this administration has been plagued with scandals which have implied millions of dollars have been stolen. Raises have been given to those in administrative positions without any concessions, and in addition, derogatory information has been given regarding FSW members. Every time there's a new allegation of unethical practice by these administrative persons, FSW and CSCA members have to take a new ethics training. Citizens are concerned and calling the department asking whether their benefits will be cut due to the alleged theft of millions of dollars. Just one example of administrative raises. In 2011, HR Director Brayton Connor was moved up 2 pay grades from a 25 to a 27 and got approximately $17,000 increase. Some of our members are just making a little over that. To add insult to injury, Brayton told the United Way that members of the Federation of Social Workers boycotted the United Way in 2013, which disallowed the county to make their goal. Nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is that Monroe County continues to say there's no money in the budget for FSW members to have raises unless we have these major concessions. What we found is over 50% of our membership have not had a raise since 2008. If you haven't had a raise since 2008, you have to decide what to give to and how much to give it. When confronted with this information, Mr. Connor admitted to telling the United Way this misinformation, however, refuses to give the Federation of Social Workers or the United Way a written apology. Through all of this, the Federation of Social Worker members have stood strong. We are not complaining about the hard work that we do every day. However, we would like to see it reflected in our pay. Federation of Social Worker members are dedicated, caring, and committed to all the citizens of this community.
My name is Carla Cates, and I've worked for the county for 18 years. I am a welfare fraud investigator. Recent events have made me wonder why I was required to attend a seminar on ethics. I guess some people didn't get the memo. Our union members have not had a raise since 2008. We cannot enter into any outside contracts or cause any inkling or one scintilla of conflict of interest. I will leave you with the following quote by Congressman William Clay. If you object to unfair treatment, you're an ingrate. If you seek equity and fair consideration, you're uppity. If you demand union security, you're un-American. If you rebel against repressive management tactics, they will lynch and scalp you. But if you are passive and patient, they will take advantage of both.
Our last 3 speakers will be Julie Garrett, to be followed by Tolan Canty and Rita Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Julie Garrett. I am a senior examiner in financial care paths for Monroe County Department of Human Services. I am here tonight with several of my union brothers and sisters to ask for help for our union, Federation of Social Workers. Our contract expired December 31st, 2008. This is my daughter, Christina. She is my #1 priority. Christina, how old are you going to be on New Year's Eve this year?
6.
So when she was 1, that's when our contract expired. So this year, 5 years later, when she turns 6, kind of hoping we'll have a new contract. I am a single mom, and my income from my job is the only income I have to take care of her and me, right?
Right.
Okay. I don't get any help except for from my parents. I get no child support from my ex-husband. And over the past few years, prices have been raised, but our wages have not. Many of my union brothers and sisters have not had a raise since before our contract expired. I can't take care of my child if things like my health insurance costs are raised or anything like that. Like I said, she's my #1 priority. I need to take care of her. Without a fair contract, I will not be able to do this. So I ask for your help in helping Federation of Social Workers get a fair contract so that I can take care of her and my union brothers and sisters can do the same for their children. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tolan Canty. I have no exact affiliation. I'm just here speaking on my own behalf. Basically, after serving our country and the government in numerous private security facilities, I've come to need the help of social services and need the facilitation of social services. I've come to find that it is woefully inadequate. You know, I've called numbers that have basically, again, as Sister Grace said, not led to anyone but machines, not been operating, not been basically having met with very condescending talk down to. It is very, very disconcerting to find out that after serving our government and our country, that this is how I'm treated, you know, when I'm needing help finally, after, you know, going through what I went through. And basically, long story short, for an example, I called someone and, you know, got in touch with them after waiting for 2 hours on the phone, which I don't currently have access to. The lady pretty much put me on hold, and then my number was just disconnected. And I currently don't have access to a phone. As I said before, I'm currently dealing with a lot of issues. Long story short, I'm just wondering, is this how exactly people who serve their government and their country are treated? I mean, I know many vets and other vets that are also being treated the same way, which I'm quite sure a lot of you know this is how our vets are being treated. I just don't appreciate it. That's all I really got to say. Thank you.
Maggie Brooks reminded us that she came into her position in 2004, was 2006 when the burial policy was changed so that people no longer had access to assistance in burying their loved ones. All they receive is $1,250, and that will not pay for the casket or the cemetery plot, necessary items for a proper burial. So it's a very sad time for poor people in Monroe County, and especially for the poor who have to try to come up with a way of burying loved ones, as if the pain of losing someone you love isn't difficult enough, but to be added to the burden of trying to pay for a funeral that they cannot afford. And then some of them have their loved one cremated, which is very painful for them. It's not something that they would choose to do. So there is a great deal of pain and suffering going on. And you may think the problem has gone away, but I assure you it has not. And we continue to hear calls from people not knowing what to do or how to pay for a decent funeral for their loved ones. So I really wish you would come up with a way of providing this important service for poor citizens of our community. It's the only right and just and fair thing to do. And there is money in the budget to do it. I don't want to hear that we don't have money to bury the poor, because you can find the money when you want to find the money for whatever it is you want to do. So this is a very important issue, and I really hope and pray that Maggie Brooks and all of you will come up with a plan that's going to take care of burials for the poor. Decent, dignified burials for the poor. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, I would like to recognize former County Legislator Doug Dobson, who has joined us tonight. Doug, welcome back. At this time, we will recess the November 12th, 2013 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature to convene the Pure Waters Administration Board for the Rochester Pure Waters District, the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, the Gates-Chili-Ogden Sewer District, and the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District. We have before us matters of urgency regarding referral 13-0293 for the purpose of scheduling a public hearing on December 10th, 2013. Before the Pure Waters Administration Board and establishing a scale of charges for each district. If there is no objection, we will move this with one introductory, table all districts with one vote, and fix the public hearing for each vote with each district with one vote. The clerk will see to it that the individual motions and the resolution numbers are assigned to each district. All set? The clerk will please note the attendance and read the first Pure Waters item on the agenda.
PWAB 1, 4, 7, and 10, establishing scale of charges for Rochester Pure Waters districts.
Moved by Legislator Daniele. It's second by Legislator Yolovich. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
PWAB items 2, 5, 8, and 11, providing that resolution intro.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is the motion to table. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The item carries. Next item.
PWAB items 3, 6, 9, and 12, fixing public hearings for.
Moved by Legislator Daniele. It is seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is to schedule the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries. We will now recess all the districts and adjourn the Pure Waters Administration Board. The November 12th, 2013 meeting of the Legislature is reconvened. Yes.
Lift local law 13-0084 entitled Regulating Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers from the table.
It is moved by Legislator Gamina. It is seconded by Legislator Tucciarello, and I believe that there is a handout going out to you right now. We now have a motion to lift intro number 122 of 2013 from the table. All those in favor? Opposed? The item carries. We now have a local law entitled Regulating Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers before the body. Is there any discussion? Legislator Gamina.
I rise to make an amendment to the local law before us.
It is moved by, an amendment is moved by Legislator Gamina. It is seconded by Legislator Tucciarello.
I will explain the amendment in each section it covers after it's been passed out to everybody. Mr. President, this amendment before this body has several changes. First, on page 4, section 380, on the first page, on page 1, section 382-4 has been amended to add a new definition for antiques. Next, in 382-6, K, that's on page 4. K has been added to define when the sheriff's office may deny or revoke a license. In section 382-6L, it's on pages 4 and 5, several new exemptions have been added. This was after considerable discussion with those that gave us feedback in March at the public forum. So several new exemptions in section 382-6L. Number 6 exempts antique dealers that fit a specific criteria listed in A through C. Number 7 exempts items sold at antique shows. Number 8 exempts second-hand clothing stores where 50% or more of items sold within that store are clothing related. Number 9 designates that the sale of any item less than $15 is exempt from reporting. And number 10 exempts items that are returned for credit, exchange, or refund. Also on page 5, 382-6M allows for a repeal process for those whose license is denied or revoked. On the bottom of page 5, 382-7A outlines the responsibilities of secondhand dealers and pawnbrokers to comply with federal, state, and local laws. Then on page 7, section 382-10, entitled Release of Stolen Property, is new and outlines the process for secondhand dealers if stolen property is identified by the Sheriff's Office. Lastly, Mr. President, on page 8, near the bottom, the effective date for this local law has been changed to June 1st, 2014. Again, since introducing and tabling this local law last spring, I've been in contact with many local business owners in Monroe County regarding the law as proposed. It was through their feedback and information and research that I've compiled the above-mentioned amendments that I believe strengthen the local law for law enforcement, as well as allow small businesses in Monroe County to conduct their businesses successfully. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Legislator Patterson for his help within this process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator Patterson.
I'm actually just standing to say that it's actually nice to work together for a change. This is something new.
Try your mic again.
It ain't working. I hope that this continues again in the future. While I'm up, I'd also like to offer an amendment, if that's at all possible. Okay, we'll wait.
Is there any other discussion at this time? Legislator Lightfoot, John Lightfoot.
I don't have anything for discussion, Mr. President, but through you, I just have a question on the definitions on the front page, 382-4. As we say, letter A, antiques as such items or collectibles recognized as such by established dealer associations within the industry. So is it going to be the industry that's going to be defining a list, or is there a list compiled, or is the dealership at the pawnbrokers going to be telling us what the industry items are? If you kind of understand my question. Do you understand my question? Through you, Mr. President, to the maker or
to the maker of the
administration, whoever wants to answer.
Legislator Gamina.
Through you, Mr. President, to Legislator Lightfoot. We actually are using the same language that is being used in Onondaga County, and it has worked very well in Onondaga County. It's not so much that we're exempting antique items, but we wanted to exempt those antique dealerships or shops that were recognized as part of the established dealer association. So they have an established criteria and, again, that dealer association. So if they are part of that, then they would be exempt from this law. Through you, Mr. President, I hope that answers the question.
I do understand it as that, and thank you for that answer. I was just curious if we had a list of what the dealers association is telling us what are listed items as antiques. I mean, I just want to make sure that we understand what items are going to be used, are already identified. Are they pre-identified, or is the list going to be added on to? I'm just curious if we had that information, or is there a website that we refer to or something like that? Or, you know, I understand that Onondaga is using it already, so I mean, I don't have a question with that. I'm just curious, through you, Mr. President, to my colleague.
Through you, Mr. President. Legislator Lightfoot, I will try to get you that type of information. The law itself, it would be really hard for the law to, I think, to try to recognize individual antique items. So again, I think what we're trying to do is have language that recognizes the entire entity or the shop, I guess. But I will try to get you that information. Okay?
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment passes. Is there anything else? Legislator Patterson.
Sing on again? All right. So I'd like to offer an amendment to the item under consideration. I'd like to amend Section 382-6, dealing with licensing. It'll take a minute for our staff to get that passed out. And what I'd like to do is amend the fee from $250 to $150. With everything we do, there's going to be some burden upon business, especially with a piece of legislation like this. But
Legislator Patterson, I need a second.
Sure.
Seconded by Legislator Gamina. Is there any discussion? The floor is yours, Legislator Patterson.
There will be some burden upon business. There will be some cost. It'd be nice if we could lessen that blow a bit to our businesses that we're going to be working with here. Thank you.
Is there any discussion to the maker of the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries.
I'd like to make a motion to table the newly amended local law entitled Regulating Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers, with the intention of setting a public hearing following the tabling motion.
It is moved by Legislator Gamina. It is seconded by Legislator Tucciarello. I believe the staff is now handing out the motion to you all. Before you now, you have a tabling motion is on the floor. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Motion to fix a public hearing on local law entitled Regulating Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers for December 10th, 2013.
It is moved by Legislator Gamina. It is seconded by Legislator Tucciarello. The staff is now handing that out to you.
Yanni?
Should all now have the motion to schedule a public hearing. All in favor indicate by saying Legislator Lightfoot, Willie Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a question on this particular piece you just passed out. Is there normally he set a date, December 10th, 2013. Do you, Mr. President, but is there a time and a location of this meeting? Just a point of question.
It would be here at our legislative meeting like we normally do, yes.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Congratulations, you two. Congratulations. Congratulations. You can applaud. We will now move back to considerations of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 13-282, amending resolution 20.
Moved by legislator Hannah, second by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 13-283, accepting grant from United States Department of Justice.
Moved by legislator Hannah, second by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 13-
Excuse me. Legislator Haney.
As a point of privilege, Mr. President, I would like everyone to know that the referral that was placed on their desks this evening regarding LDC reforms should be considered this evening despite the President not thinking it urgent. I therefore move that we suspend the rules for the purpose of accepting my LDC reform referral.
Do we have a second to that? Legislator Haney has moved his for suspension of the rules. Legislator Keeley has seconded it. We will go to a roll call vote for the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Tucciarello. No. Ms. Andrews. Yes. Mr. Ansello. No. Mr. Antelli. No. Mr. Barker. No. Mr. Baroth. Yes. Ms. Boyce. No. Dr. Carbone. No. Mr. Colby. No. Mr. Daniele. No. Mrs. Draw. Mr. Gamble. Yes. Mr. Gamina. No. Mr. Haney. Yes. Mr. Hanna. No. Mr. Howland. No. Miss Kaylee. Yes. Mr. John Lightfoot. Yes. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Yes. Mr. McCann. No. Mr. Michike. No. Mr. Morelli. Yes. Mr. Patterson. Dr. Quattro is excused. Mr. Rocco? No. Mrs. Valerio? No. Mr. Wilcox? Yes. Mr. Yolovich? No. President Adair?
No.
10-18, motion to suspend the rules fails.
Back to the agenda, please. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 13-284, accepting grant from New York State Division of Criminal.
It is moved by legislator Hannah. It is seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 13-285, accepting grant from New York State.
Moved by legislator Hannah, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 13-286, accepting grant from New York State Office of...
Moved by legislator Hannah, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 13-287, accepting grant from...
It is moved by legislator Draw, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 13-288, amending resolution 1.
Moved by legislator Draw. It is seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 13-289, accepting grant.
Moved by legislator Draw, and it is seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 13-290, confirmation of appointment to Monroe County.
Moved by legislator Draw, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator Andrews.
President,
I would just like to rise to thank Legislator Lightfoot for his years of service on the Airport Authority Board, as well as to acknowledge and thank Legislator Cindy Cayley for taking on that responsibility. I'm sure she's going to do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 13-291, accepting funding from.
Moved by Legislator Hannah, second by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 13-292, confirming.
It is moved by Legislator Daniele, second by Legislator Yolovich. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 12, referral 13-292, providing that resolution.
It is moved by Legislator Daniele, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is a tabling motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 13-292, fixing public hearing on resolution.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is a scheduled public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 14, referral 13-0326, adoption.
It's moved by Legislator Yolovich. It's seconded by Legislator Howland. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 13-0326, providing.
It is moved by Legislator Yolovich. It's seconded by Legislator Howland. This is a tabling motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 16, referral 13-326, fixing public hearing.
It is moved by Legislator Yolovich. It's seconded by Legislator Howland. This is to schedule the public hearing. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. I believe that's it. There is no unfinished business to come before this body tonight. Legislator Tucciarello.
County Legislature scheduled for Tuesday, December 10th, 2013, 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.